The rejection is delivered before Nyasha even finishes sitting down. "I'm sorry, Ms. Okoye," the woman says, already closing her folder. "This position won't be a good fit." Nyasha blinks. She is still standing halfway between the chair and the table, resume in hand. Jacket smoothed carefully over a blouse she ironed at 3 in the morning. "Oh," she says. "May I ask why?" The panel exchange glances. The man in the middle clears his throat. "We're looking for candidates with more direct experience." Nyasha nods slowly. She does not argue. She does not explain that she built valuation models during her lunch breaks, that she memorized SEC filings while waiting for washing machines to finish, that she cleans this very building after midnight. She simply says, "Thank you for your time." The interview lasts 7 minutes. She walks out of the conference room while the decision is still warm. The hallway smells like money, polished wood, recycled air, ambition. She keeps her shoulders square as she passes glass-walled offices filled with people who never learned her name. At the elevator bank, her reflection stares back at her. Black woman, early 30s, calm face, tired eyes. She presses the button. Inside the interview room, the door closes. "Next," someone says. The HR director exhales. "That was awkward. She never stood a chance," another interviewer replies. "Did you see her employment history?" A third scoffs. "Night janitorial staff applying for senior analyst? Come on." Across the table, Elliot Vaughn does not speak. His gaze remains fixed on the empty chair. "She corrected the depreciation schedule," he says quietly. Silence. "She did it in her head," he continues. "Without notes." HR shifts uncomfortably. It doesn't change her background. Elliot finally looks up. What exactly about her background disqualifies her? The question hangs. No one answers, because no one wants to say it out loud. She's gone now anyway, HR says. Security already cleared her badge. That does it. Elliot stands. The chair slams backward. "Which elevator?" he says. "Sir, which elevator did she take?" Nyasha steps out onto 6th Avenue 15 seconds later. The city hits her all at once. Horns, footsteps, heat rising from concrete. She moves automatically, crossing with the light, her body trained by years of not being in anyone's way. Only when she reaches the sidewalk does the weight settle. Not sadness, not anger, humiliation. She told herself not to hope. She hoped anyway. She adjusts the strap of her bag and starts walking. Behind her, the glass doors burst open. "Ms. Okoye." She stops. Slowly, she turns. Elliot Vaughn is weaving through pedestrians, suit jacket open, tie loosened, eyes locked on her like she's a missed deadline he cannot afford. People stare. A woman lifts her phone. Nyasha's heart slams. "Yes," she says. "I need you to come back inside." She lets out a breathless laugh. "I failed the interview." "No," Elliot says. "You were failed." Her smile disappears. "That's not funny. I'm not joking." She studies him now, really studies him. The billionaire CEO she's seen on magazine covers. The man whose office she cleans at night while pretending not to read confidential memos left on desks. "You should let this go," she says. "We both know how this ends." "I don't," he replies. She shakes her head. "You do." I walk back in. Your people smile. Nothing changes. Elliot steps closer, lowering his voice. "Someone rigged your interview." That lands. Nyasha's spine stiffens. "Rigged how?" "They decided you were unqualified before you spoke." Her jaw tightens. "Then why chase me?" "Because," Elliot says, "you saw something you weren't supposed to see." She stares at him. "You fixed our cash flow model," he continues. "And that mistake would have cost us $300 million. Silence stretches between them. "That's impossible," she says. "You corrected it without knowing you were being tested," he replies. "Which means you weren't guessing." Traffic roars past. Somewhere, a siren wails. Nyasha's voice drops. "If what you're saying is true, someone wanted that mistake to stay hidden." "Yes. And now you've put me in their line of sight." Elliot doesn't deny it. "Come back inside," he says. 5 minutes. Then you decide." She hesitates. 5, she says. "Then I leave." Inside the building, eyes follow them like cameras. Executives whisper. Security stiffens. HR goes pale. They enter a smaller conference room. The door shuts. "You clean this building," Elliot says. Nyasha stiffens. "Excuse me." "I know," he says. "I know your shift. I know your badge number. I know you've been here 2 years without a single complaint." Her chest tightens. And instead of firing you for accessing sensitive information, he continues, I want to know who trained you. No one, she says. I trained myself. Elliot watches her carefully. Then someone underestimated you, he says. Badly. A knock on the door. Hard. The board is waiting. HR calls through the glass. Elliot doesn't turn. Good, he says. So is the person who thought rejecting you would keep their secret safe. Nyasha's pulse spikes. What secret? Elliot finally looks at her. The one that will get you erased if you walk out that door. The knock comes again. Louder. Nyasha realizes something then. This interview never ended. It just moved to a much more dangerous room. The boardroom goes quiet the moment Nyasha steps inside. Not polite quiet. Not respectful quiet. Predatory quiet. 12 people sit around the long walnut table. Men and women in tailored suits. Faces trained into neutral expressions that have ended careers without raising voices. These are not interviewers. These are owners. People who do not like surprises. Nyasha feels it instantly. She keeps her posture straight anyway. Elliot takes the seat at the head of the table, but does not introduce her. That is the first mistake. Can someone explain? A gray-haired man on Elliot's right says calmly. Why a facilities employee is present in a closed board session. Nyasha's fingers twitch at her side. Elliot doesn't look at him. Because she caught an error none of you did. A woman across the table folds her arms. We already reviewed the projections. Yes, Elliot replies. You reviewed what you were given. Silence tightens. Nyasha feels every eye slide toward her. Measuring. Categorizing. Dismissing. The gray-haired man smiles thinly. With all due respect, Elliot, this is highly irregular. Elliot finally looks around the room. So was the Asia model being wrong by $300 million? That lands. Someone shifts. Someone else clears their throat. Nyasha swallows. You, Elliot says, turning to her, walk them through it. Her heart hammers. This is not 5 minutes. This is exposure. She hesitates. Elliot's voice drops. If you're going to be targeted, you might as well be dangerous. That does it. Nyasha steps forward. She doesn't apologize. Doesn't ask permission. She taps the screen. The revenue growth assumptions ignore regional labor disputes, she says evenly. You're also double-counting supplier rebates that won't survive renegotiation. A murmur ripples. That's not accurate. The woman with folded arms snaps. Nyasha doesn't flinch. She changes the slide. Numbers update in real time. Those rebates expire in 8 months. Nyasha continues. Your expansion doesn't break even until month 14. The murmur stops. The gray-haired man leans forward. Who gave you access to this data? No one, Nyasha replies. You leave it open. That answer unsettles them more than the numbers. Elliot watches their reactions carefully. Someone is sweating. Enough, the woman snaps. This is inappropriate. Elliot, we can discuss internal security later. Security is the discussion, Elliot replies. Because someone manipulated this model. Nyasha's pulse spikes. Manipulated how? Someone asks. Elliot looks at the far end of the table, directly at Martin Kessler. Martin is calm. Too calm. Senior strategy officer. Legacy hire. Untouchable. That error, Elliot says, benefits exactly one external partner. Martin smiles mildly. Are you accusing me of something? I'm accusing someone, Elliot replies. And you're the only one who profits. The room tightens. Nyasha feels it shift, from curiosity to threat. Martin turns his gaze to her. So you're the janitor who thinks she cracked a billion-dollar strategy, he says pleasantly. Impressive imagination. Nyasha meets his eyes. You moved the error 3 rows down, she says. Buried it under operating expenses so it wouldn't trigger alerts. Martin's smile freezes. The woman beside him inhales sharply. That's impossible, Martin says. Nyasha doesn't raise her voice. You assume no one without clearance would read it closely. Elliot leans back slowly. That's enough for today, Martin says, standing. This is getting ridiculous. No, Elliot replies. This is getting honest. Martin straightens his cuffs. If you're going to entertain accusations from cleaning staff, I'll excuse myself. Nyasha's stomach drops. If he walks, this ends. And she knows it. You delayed the supplier review meeting, she says suddenly. Martin pauses. You insisted it be pushed back 3 weeks, she continues. Gave your partner time to restructure their exposure. The room goes silent. Martin turns slowly. That information is confidential. Nyasha nods. So is your offshore account. The words hang in the air like smoke. Elliot doesn't blink. Martin laughs once, sharp. This is absurd. Elliot presses a button on the table. A screen lights up. Bank transfers. Dates. Amounts. Martin's color drains. The board erupts. Voices overlap. Questions fire. Someone demands explanations. Martin slams his palm on the table. You have no idea what you're doing, he snaps at Nyasha. You think exposing me ends this? Nyasha doesn't answer. Elliot stands. Security, he says calmly. 2 guards appear. Martin's voice drops, venomous. You just made an enemy. Nyasha feels the threat crawl up her spine. Martin is escorted out. The door closes. Silence crashes down. Elliot turns to Nyasha. You should leave, someone says quickly. This is no longer safe. Nyasha nods. She turns and stops because she realizes something terrifying. If she leaves now, she leaves alone. Elliot watches her carefully. They won't forgive this, she says quietly. No, Elliot agrees. They won't. She looks at him. You ran after me because you needed me. Yes. And now? Elliot doesn't hesitate. Now I need you protected. The board explodes again. Absolutely not. This is insane. You're risking the company. Elliot raises a hand. Silence falls. She either stays, he says, or everything she uncovered dies with her exit. Nyasha's heart pounds. This is the moment. Leave and survive quietly. Stay and become visible. Dangerously visible. She looks at the faces around the table. At the fear behind the outrage. She exhales. I don't work for free, she says. A few people scoff. Elliot smiles faintly. Good. I want immunity, Nyasha continues. Written. I want access. And I want my name on whatever fixes this. The room stiffens. Elliot nods. Done. The board protests. Elliot doesn't care. Nyasha turns toward the door. Before she reaches it, Elliot speaks again. You should know, he says quietly. Martin wasn't acting alone. Nyasha stops. There are 2 more, Elliot continues. And now they know your face. Her pulse slams. She turns back slowly. Then, she says, we'd better move fast. Outside the room, phones buzz. Messages spread. And somewhere in the city, someone is already deciding how to erase the black maid who didn't stay in her place. Elliot doesn't waste a second. He moves like the building belongs to him in ways the board can't vote against. He guides Nyasha out through a side corridor that smells like fresh paint and expensive silence, away from the main lobby where gossip already gathers teeth. 2 security men fall in behind them. Not the lobby guards. These are corporate protection, broad shoulders, earpieces, eyes that don't blink at executives. Nyasha keeps walking, but her palms sweat. You're overreacting, she says under her breath, because pride hates looking afraid. Elliot doesn't slow. No, I'm finally reacting correctly. They reach a private elevator. Elliot swipes a card Nyasha has never seen before. The doors open. Inside, Nyasha's reflection catches her again in the mirrored steel. 2 small beside him, 2 exposed. The elevator rises. Where are we going? She asks. Up. That's not an answer. Elliot glances at her. My floor. My office. We do this where microphones don't live. Nyasha almost laughs. You think microphones don't live in your office? His mouth twitches. Less than they live in theirs. The elevator stops. The doors open into a hallway that feels like a different country. Carpet soft as velvet. Walls lined with modern art that costs more than her childhood home. Elliot's assistant stands at the far end, tablet in hand. Her posture is stiff, face carefully blank in the way people get when they're forced to watch power move off script. Mr. Vaughn, she says. The board is requesting. Cancel everything. Elliot replies. Clear my next 2 hours. The assistant hesitates. Sir. Elliot doesn't raise his voice. He never has to. Now. The assistant's eyes flick to Nyasha. A micro-expression flashes, surprise, something close to judgment. Then it's gone. Yes, sir, she says, and walks away fast. Elliot opens the doors to his office. Nyasha steps in and feels it immediately. This isn't just an office. It's a command center pretending to be art. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Manhattan like the city is a spreadsheet. A wall of screens sits dark behind a sleek desk. Everything is minimal, controlled, weaponized. Nyasha's gaze lands on the cleaning cart tucked neatly in a side alcove, the same brand she uses downstairs. Elliot sees her looking. I noticed you always align the handles, he says. Nyasha freezes. You noticed that? Elliot shrugs slightly. I notice everything that matters. Nyasha's throat tightens, irritation and something else mixing. Then you noticed your people treated me like I was invisible. His eyes sharpen. Yes. And you let it happen. He doesn't flinch from that. I did. Because I believed the system was filtering for talent. Nyasha steps closer to the window, forcing space between them. And now you don't. Elliot moves to his desk, taps a button. The glass walls turn opaque. Nyasha's stomach drops. What is that? Privacy, he says. The kind you don't get on 6th Avenue. Nyasha turns, jaw set. Say what you need to say. Elliot folds his hands, leaning back slightly, studying her like she's a map he didn't know existed. You access protected materials, he begins. Nyasha's chin lifts. I saw what was left out. That's still access. Nyasha's eyes flash. Then don't leave it out. A beat. Elliot's mouth curves faintly. Not a smile, something darker, impressed. You're angry, he says. I'm not angry, Nyasha replies. I'm awake. Elliot nods once. Good. Stay that way. He slides a folder across the desk. Not paper, thin, high-grade security laminate. Nyasha doesn't touch it immediately. What is that? An employment contract, Elliot says. Official. Starting today. Nyasha lets out a short breath. You're just offering me the job again. I'm offering you protection, he corrects. With a title attached so they can't pretend you're nobody. Nyasha's fingers finally land on the folder. She opens it, scans the first page, then the second. Her eyebrows rise. This salary is violent. She looks up slowly. This is fair, Elliot says. It's too high. It's too honest, he replies. And it's bait. For them and for you. Nyasha narrows her eyes. For me. Elliot leans forward. I need to know if you're here because you want justice or because you want revenge. Nyasha stares at him. He doesn't blink first. Her voice drops. What's the difference? Elliot's expression hardens. Justice ends when the truth is exposed. Revenge doesn't end. Nyasha closes the folder gently. You think I'm dangerous, she says. Elliot's gaze flicks over her face. I think you're capable. Nyasha's pulse misbehaves at that. It irritates her that her body reacts to anything about him. She pushes it down. You said there are 2 more, she says. Who? Elliot taps his screen. 2 names appear, blurred, then clear. Samantha Price, Chief Compliance Officer. Derek Lynn, Head of Global Partnerships. Nyasha reads them, then looks back up. Compliance is supposed to catch corruption. Elliot's voice turns cold. Exactly. Nyasha steps closer to the desk. What did Martin plan to do? Elliot turns the screen toward her. A set of contracts appears. A timeline. A partner named Nyasha recognizes because she's cleaned the conference room after their closed-door meetings. A private equity firm. She feels her stomach sink. They're stripping Virex, Nyasha whispers. Elliot's eyes lock on hers. Yes. Nyasha's mouth goes dry. And you didn't see it. I saw pieces, Elliot admits. I didn't see the pattern. Nyasha forces herself to breathe. How far does it go? Elliot doesn't answer immediately. That silence is its own threat. Elliot, she says sharply. He finally speaks. To my father's old circle. Nyasha stills. She's heard things at night. Whispered names. The way executives speak differently when they think the building is asleep. A certain last name always said like an oath. Vaughn. Nyasha's voice is careful now. Your father built this place. And someone is using his legacy to loot it, Elliot says. Nyasha's skin prickles. If this reaches your father's circle, they won't just fire people. Elliot's eyes darken. No. Nyasha stares at the contract again, suddenly seeing it for what it is. A leash. A shield. A target. You want me to help you rip out 2 powerful people, she says, while everyone watches, and you think a salary makes that safe. Elliot stands. He moves around the desk, slow, controlled, stopping at a respectful distance. Not touching her. Not crowding her. But the air shifts anyway. Pressure, gravity. It's not safe, he says. It's necessary. Nyasha swallows. Why me? Elliot's voice drops. Because you're not loyal to them. Nyasha's eyes narrow. And I'm loyal to you. Elliot holds her gaze. Not yet. That lands harder than it should. Nyasha looks away first, jaw tense. Then you're gambling. Elliot's mouth tightens. I've gambled my whole life. The difference is, this time, The stakes are real. Nyasha turns back to him. I'm real. His eyes flicker. Something brief, human, almost dangerous. You're the first person in this building who spoke to me like I'm not a god, Elliot says quietly. That's rare. Nyasha hears it, the loneliness inside the power. It almost softens her. Almost. Then her phone vibrates in her pocket. Nyasha pauses, pulls it out. Unknown number. No caller ID. She hesitates, then answers. Hello. A man's voice slides through the speaker, smooth and amused. Congratulations, Nyasha. Her spine goes cold. Who is this? You really thought you could walk into Virex and not be noticed? The voice continues, calm as a knife. You were invisible yesterday. Today you're interesting. Nyasha's eyes flick to Elliot. He's watching her face, reading the panic she refuses to show. Stop calling me, Nyasha says. A soft chuckle. That's cute. Listen carefully. You have 24 hours to disappear. Nyasha's grip tightens. Or what? The voice turns gentler, almost kind. Or your brothers lose their ride home from school. Nyasha's blood turns to ice. Elliot's expression changes instantly. What did he say, he mouths. Nyasha can barely breathe. The man on the phone continues, unhurried. You don't know me, but I know you. I know where you live. I know which bodega you buy your coffee from. I know your little brother's names. Nyasha's eyes sting with sudden fury. You touch them and what? The voice interrupts, amused again. You'll scrub my floors harder? Nyasha trembles, rage and dread twisting together. Elliot reaches for the phone, but Nyasha pulls it back. This is hers. The voice lowers. You have a choice. Walk away, or learn what happens when a maid forgets her place. The call ends. Nyasha stands frozen, phone still pressed to her ear, hearing only dead air. Elliot's voice is low, lethal. Give me the number. Nyasha looks up, eyes burning. They know my brothers, she whispers. Elliot's face goes still, the kind of stillness that precedes violence in boardrooms and courtrooms. He takes the phone from her gently, then presses another button on his desk. Get me head of security, he says into the intercom. Now, and lock down any outgoing data. We have a leak. Nyasha's breathing shakes. Elliot turns back to her. They threatened your family, he says, more statement than question. Nyasha nods once. Elliot's eyes harden. Then we stop playing defense. Nyasha swallows. How? Elliot leans in slightly, voice dropping to a dangerous calm. By making them panic first. And before Nyasha can ask what that means, Elliot's phone lights up with an incoming call. The contact name on the screen makes Elliot's expression tighten. Martin Kessler. Elliot answers on speaker. Martin's voice comes through, smiling. Elliot, Martin says. I'd like to negotiate. Nyasha's stomach drops. Elliot's voice is ice. You're in custody. Not for long, Martin replies smoothly. And I'm calling to do you a favor. Elliot doesn't speak. Martin continues, cheerful as ever. Check your lobby cameras. Right now, your new hire just got someone's attention. Elliot's eyes flick to the wall screen. He taps it. Live lobby feed appears. Nyasha's breath catches. Two men in dark coats stand by the security gates, calm, patient, not rushing, not threatening. One of them looks directly up at the camera. Then he raises his hand and slowly waves. Like he knows she's watching. Nyasha's knees almost give. Elliot's jaw clenches. Martin's voice purrs through the speaker. Tick-tock, Elliot. Let her go, or watch what happens when you keep her. Elliot doesn't hang up. He lets Martin hear the silence. On the screen, the two men by the lobby gates stand like they belong there. Not aggressive, not rushed. The kind of calm that only comes from confidence or permission. Nyasha's chest tightens. They're not security, she says. No, Elliot replies. They're a message. He ends the call and turns to her. The shift in him is immediate. The billionaire polish peels back, replaced by something colder, sharper. A man who has fought wars with paperwork and won. You said they mentioned your brothers, Elliot says. Nyasha nods. They know their school. Their route. Elliot presses a button on his desk. Lock down the building. Level red. No one leaves without my approval. A voice crackles back. Understood. Nyasha swallows. You can't protect them from here. I can, Elliot says. But only if you tell me everything. She hesitates. That old instinct, to keep family out of reach of powerful men, kicks in hard. But the image of her brothers flashes in her mind. Their backpacks. Their laughter. Their trust. They walk home, she says quietly. Same route, every day? I couldn't afford the bus passes this month. Elliot doesn't react outwardly, but something dangerous settles behind his eyes. Get eyes on them now, he says into the intercom. Plain clothes. 2 cars. No sirens. He turns back to Nyasha. They won't touch them. You don't know that, she snaps. I know how men like Martin think, Elliot replies. Threats before moves. Pressure before blood. He wants you gone, not martyred. Nyasha exhales shakily. That's supposed to make me feel better? No, Elliot says. It's supposed to make you useful. That stings. Nyasha straightens. You said 2 others. Yes. And Martin called you instead of them. Elliot nods, which means he's exposed. He's trying to regain leverage. Nyasha looks back at the screen. So why show himself? Elliot watches the men in the lobby carefully. Because someone else is watching too. As if on cue, Elliot's assistant knocks once and steps in, pale. Mr. Vaughn, she says. Compliance just flagged an emergency audit request. Nyasha's stomach twists. Samantha Price. Elliot's lips thin. She's moving. And Derek Lynn? Nyasha asks. Still quiet. Elliot replies. Which makes him the most dangerous. Nyasha looks at Elliot. They're coordinating. Yes. And I'm the spark. Elliot meets her gaze. You're the fuse they didn't see. Another buzz. Nyasha's phone lights up again. Different number. She doesn't answer. The voicemail icon appears almost instantly. Elliot watches her face tighten. Play it. Nyasha hesitates, then taps the screen. A woman's voice fills the room. Calm. Polished. Familiar. Nyasha, this is Samantha Price. I know today has been confusing. I'd like to speak with you privately. No lawyers. No executives. Just women. Nyasha lets out a hollow laugh. She wants to protect me. Elliot's jaw tightens. She wants to isolate you. Nyasha looks up. And make it look consensual. Elliot nods once. If you walk into that meeting alone, you don't walk out clean. Nyasha presses delete. Another message arrives immediately. Text this time. You're in over your head. Walk away while you can. Nyasha's hands shake with fury. They really think I'll just disappear. They're used to people like you doing exactly that, Elliot says. Nyasha turns to him. You keep saying people like me. What does that mean to you? Elliot holds her gaze, serious now. It means someone smart enough to scare them and underestimated enough to be erased. Nyasha looks away. My mother used to say the most dangerous place for a black woman is the room where people think she doesn't belong. Elliot's voice is quieter. Your mother was right. The screens on the wall flicker. Security footage expands. 2 small figures walking down a sidewalk, backpacks bouncing. Nyasha's breath catches. That's them. They're safe, Elliot says. For now. For now, Nyasha echoes. She turns back to Elliot. You said immunity. Access. My name on the fix. Yes. And protection. Elliot nods. Mine. Nyasha studies him. The power. The wealth. The risk. Then she makes a decision that feels like stepping off a cliff. Then we don't wait, she says. We move first. Elliot raises an eyebrow. What do you suggest? Nyasha walks to the screen, pulls up the audit request Samantha triggered. She wants an audit, Nyasha says. Give her one. Elliot's eyes sharpen. You want to accelerate it. I want to control it, Nyasha replies. She thinks compliance is her shield. We turn it into a spotlight. Elliot leans in. How? You authorize a full internal review, Nyasha says. Public. Transparent. Led by me. The room goes still. That would be a declaration of war, Elliot says. Nyasha meets his eyes. They already declared it. I'm just tired of pretending I don't hear the shots. Elliot studies her, then smiles slowly. Not amused. Proud. You realize what happens if this fails, he says. They bury me, Nyasha replies. They were already planning to. Elliot nods. And if it succeeds? Nyasha's voice doesn't waver. They never underestimate someone like me again. Elliot turns to his desk, types rapidly. Approvals flash across the screen. You're promoted, he says calmly. Effective immediately. Special projects lead. Reporting directly to me. Nyasha exhales. That fast. I don't do slow when the building is on fire. Another knock. Security this time. Sir, the guard says. The men in the lobby are requesting to speak with you. Elliot doesn't look away from Nyasha. Good. Bring them up. Nyasha stiffens. Here. Yes, Elliot says. If they want to intimidate us, They do it where we can see their faces. The elevator feed pops up. The two men step inside. Nyasha's pulse roars in her ears. Breathe, Elliot says quietly. Predators smell panic. The elevator climbs. Nyasha clenches her fists, then forces them open. Elliot, she says softly, if this goes wrong. It won't, he replies. She looks at him. You sound very sure. Elliot's gaze is steady, because they already made their biggest mistake. The elevator dings. Doors open. The two men step into the hallway, eyes scanning, calm smiles fixed in place. One of them looks at Nyasha and tilts his head. Ms. Okoye, he says pleasantly. We just wanted to talk. Elliot steps forward, blocking their path without touching them. You're trespassing, he says. And you're on camera. The man chuckles. We don't mind being seen. Nyasha steps beside Elliot, heart pounding but voice steady. Then you won't mind being remembered. The second man's smile falters, just a fraction. The first looks back at her, eyes narrowing. You should have walked away. Nyasha meets his gaze, something fierce and unmovable settling in her chest. I tried, she says. You wouldn't let me. Behind them, the screens light up again. A notification flashes across Elliot's dashboard. External media inquiry. Anonymous tip alleging executive fraud at Virex Holdings. Elliot smiles coldly. Nyasha feels it too, the shift. The panic they wanted to create has changed hands. And somewhere in the city, Samantha Price and Derek Lynn are realizing, far too late, that the maid they tried to erase just lit the building on fire. The two men don't sit. They stand just inside Elliot's office, hands relaxed at their sides, eyes moving slowly, not searching, not nervous. Cataloging. Nyasha recognizes it immediately, the way men look when they expect to own the room eventually. The taller one smiles again. No need to call security. We're just here to deliver a message. Elliot gestures toward the chairs anyway. Then sit. Messages are easier to hear when people are comfortable. The man's smile tightens. He doesn't sit. Nyasha notes it. Power hates being invited. You already delivered your message, she says. Threats. Family. Very original. The shorter man chuckles. You misunderstand. That was a courtesy. Nyasha's jaw sets. Then you've overstayed it. Elliot folds his arms. You're on camera. You're in my building. And you've just been linked to a detained executive. Choose your next words carefully. The taller man finally turns his attention fully to Elliot. You're making this worse than it needs to be. Elliot's voice is mild. So I've been told. By every man who underestimated me. The man smiles thinly. This isn't about you. Nyasha feels the shift. She steps forward before Elliot can stop her. It never is, she says. Until it is. The shorter man tilts his head, studying her. You're bold. I'm tired, Nyasha replies. There's a difference. The taller man exhales, as if indulging a child. You were supposed to walk away quietly. That was the deal. No one offered me a deal, Nyasha says. He shrugs. People like you don't usually need one. Elliot's expression hardens. You're done. He reaches for the desk console. Wait. The taller man says calmly. Before you escort us out, ask yourself what happens tomorrow. Elliot pauses. Nyasha feels it too, the way the air tightens before something breaks. What happens tomorrow, the man continues, when compliance files an injunction. When your stock dips 10% on rumors alone. When the press runs a story about a billionaire CEO being manipulated by an unvetted employee. Nyasha's chest tightens. You think we didn't plan for optics? The man asks. We planned for everything. Elliot's voice is ice. Including extortion? The man smiles. Including leverage. Nyasha steps closer. You don't have it. The shorter man finally speaks again. Your brother's school just changed its pickup policy. Nyasha goes cold. Elliot's hand slams down on the desk. You will not threaten children in my office. The man's eyes flick to Elliot, amused. Relax. It's just information. The same kind you like to expose. Nyasha's vision tunnels. Elliot turns to her. They're bluffing. She shakes her head slowly. They're testing. The taller man nods approvingly. She learns fast. Elliot straightens. You're done here. He presses the console. Security pours in. For men this time, decisive, trained. The two visitors don't resist as they're escorted out, but the taller one looks back at Nyasha just before the door closes. Tick-tock, he says softly. The door seals. Silence crashes down. Nyasha's legs feel unsteady. She forces herself not to show it. Elliot turns to her. They don't control your brothers. Not yet, Nyasha replies. But they're closer than I am. Elliot nods. Then we close the distance. He taps his screen. Live feeds appear again. Plainclothes security now visible near the boys, casual, unthreatening. One of them waves at the camera. Nyasha exhales a shaky breath she didn't know she was holding. They'll be escorted home, Elliot says. Then somewhere safe. Safe where? Nyasha asks. Elliot doesn't answer immediately. That hesitation, she says quietly, means there's a cost. Elliot meets her gaze. Everything has one. Nyasha straightens. Then tell me the price before I agree. Elliot nods once. Witness protection level privacy. New routines. New security protocols. Less freedom. Nyasha swallows. For how long? Elliot's voice is honest. Until this ends. And when does it end? She asks. Elliot's jaw tightens. When the last person pulling strings loses their grip. Nyasha nods slowly. Then we don't waste time. She moves back to the screen, pulling up Samantha Price's audit framework. They think compliance protects them, she says. It doesn't. It documents them. Elliot watches her, impressed and wary. You're proposing to weaponize transparency. I'm proposing to let them hang themselves, Nyasha replies. Elliot's phone buzzes. He glances at it, frowns. What is it? Nyasha asks. Derek Lynn, Elliot says. He's finally responding. He puts the call on speaker. Elliot, Derek's voice comes through, smooth, measured. I hear things have gotten tense. That's one word for it, Elliot replies. I want to distance myself from Martin's actions. Derek continues quickly. I had no idea how far he'd gone. Nyasha rolls her eyes. Elliot notices. Funny, Elliot says. Because your name appears on 3 of his contracts. A pause. That doesn't mean I approved anything illegal, Derek says carefully. Nyasha leans in. It means you benefited. Another pause. Longer. Who is she? Derek finally asks. Nyasha feels the weight of the question. Identity. Threat. Focus. I'm the person you ignored, she says. Derek exhales. Listen, Nyasha. May I call you Nyasha? No, she replies flatly. I want to help, Derek says. But I need assurances. Assurances of what? Elliot asks. That I won't be the next sacrifice, Derek says. You're setting fires. Fires burn everyone. Nyasha's voice sharpens. Then stops standing in the smoke. Derek sighs. You're making enemies you don't understand. Nyasha's eyes harden. You made me one first. Silence hums through the speaker. Then Derek laughs softly. You really think you're untouchable now? Nyasha doesn't hesitate. No, I think you're scared. The laugh dies. You think this ends with documents, Derek says. It doesn't. It ends with someone losing everything. Nyasha leans closer to the phone. That was always the ending. You just assumed it wouldn't be you. Elliot cuts in. Last chance, Derek. A long breath on the other end. I'll cooperate, Derek says finally. But not for free. Nyasha closes her eyes briefly. Of course. I want immunity, Derek continues. Full protection. And my name cleared publicly. Nyasha opens her eyes. You don't get to negotiate the truth. Derek scoffs. Then you don't get my testimony. Nyasha turns to Elliot. He's bluffing. Elliot considers, then nods. Yes, he is. He leans toward the phone. You're already exposed, Derek. The only difference now is whether you fall alone. Derek's voice tightens. You think Samantha will let you win? Nyasha stiffens. What do you mean? Derek hesitates. Then, quietly, she's already moved. Elliot's screen lights up. A breaking news alert scrolls across the bottom. Federal compliance raid announced at Virex Holdings. Nyasha's heart slams. That was fast, she whispers. Elliot's face goes cold. She forced jurisdiction. Derek speaks again, voice urgent now. They'll freeze everything. Accounts. Data. Access. You won't control the narrative anymore. Nyasha's mind races. Unless we give them something bigger. Elliot looks at her sharply. What are you thinking? Nyasha doesn't hesitate. We leak first. Elliot inhales sharply. That's nuclear. Nyasha meets his eyes. So is silence. Another alert flashes. Department of Justice requests CEO cooperation. Nyasha feels the ground shift beneath her. This is about you now, she says to Elliot. Elliot's mouth tightens. It was always about me. Nyasha straightens. Then let them come. Elliot studies her. You realize what happens if you're wrong. Nyasha nods. I've been wrong before. I survived. The office doors swing open. Security steps aside for a woman in a dark suit, badge clipped to her belt. Elliot Vaughn. The woman says calmly. Department of Justice. We need to speak with you. Nyasha's pulse roars. The woman's eyes slide to Nyasha, lingering just a beat too long. And you, she adds. You'll want to hear this too. Nyasha's phone vibrates in her pocket again. She doesn't need to look to know it's another unknown number. She answers anyway. Samantha Price's voice fills her ear, cool and satisfied. I told you to walk away, Samantha says. Now look what you've caused. Nyasha stares at the DOJ agent standing in Elliot's office, at the screens flashing warnings, at the future collapsing and reforming in real time. She smiles faintly. You should have walked faster, Nyasha replies. The call ends. And in that moment, Nyasha understands something terrifying and exhilarating. There is no going back. Only through. The DOJ agent doesn't step fully inside like she's afraid of being contaminated by wealth. She steps in like she owns the air. Her badge catches the light when she shifts, and the two agents behind her stand just far enough back to make Elliot feel surrounded without making a scene. Corporate war has rules. Federal war has paperwork. Mr. Vaughn, the agent says again, voice clipped, professional. We're executing an emergency preservation order. No deletions. No transfers. No external communications beyond counsel. Elliot's face stays calm, but Nyasha watches his jaw. It tightens once, then smooths out like steel resetting. You're early, Elliot says. The agent's eyes narrow slightly. We're on time. Nyasha hears what isn't said. Someone tipped us off. Someone wanted us here before you could move. Elliot gestures to a chair without warmth. Sit. Tell me what you think you're preserving. The agent doesn't sit. I'm Agent Collins, she says, pulling a slim folder from her arm. This company is suspected of wire fraud, obstruction, and falsification of statements to investors. Nyasha's stomach turns. Elliot's voice remains level. You've got the wrong target. Agent Collins looks toward Nyasha. That slight linger from before returns. Interest that doesn't belong in a federal raid. Do we? Collins asks. Nyasha forces her breathing steady. Elliot shifts subtly, placing himself half a step in front of Nyasha without making it obvious. Protection disguised as posture. Do you have a warrant? Elliot asks. I have an order, Collins replies. And a cooperating witness. Elliot's eyes narrow. Who? Collins opens the folder and slides a single page forward. Nyasha's eyes catch the name before Elliot's do. Martin Kessler. Nyasha feels heat rush through her chest. He's flipping. Elliot doesn't blink. He's lying. Collins' mouth twitches as if she's heard billionaires say that before. He's providing details about offshore structures, kickbacks, and internal sabotage. Nyasha's mind races. If Martin controls the narrative, he can paint Elliot as the mastermind, Nyasha as the accomplice, and Samantha as the hero who caught it. The kind of story prosecutors love because it's neat. Nyasha's hands curl into fists. Elliot's voice is sharp. Kessler was detained for attempted fraud. He threatened an employee's family. He's not credible. Collins watches him like she's weighing his words. Then she says something that makes Nyasha's blood go cold. He claims the employee was planted, Collins says. A convenient fall guy. A cleaner with unusual access. Nyasha's chest tightens. Elliot's head tilts. Who told him that? Collins doesn't answer. She doesn't have to. The silence points straight at Samantha Price. Nyasha speaks before Elliot can. If Martin says I was planted, he's admitting he knew I was a risk. Collins looks at her. And why would a cleaner be a risk to a boardroom? Nyasha lifts her chin. Because I can read. One of the agents behind Collins shifts, suppressing a reaction. Collins' expression remains controlled, but her eyes sharpen. You're Ms. Okoye, Collins says. Nyasha doesn't like that the agent already knows her name. Yes. And you're what exactly? Collins asks. An analyst? A whistleblower? Or a pawn? Nyasha's voice is steady. A person who got tired of being invisible. Collins studies her for a long beat, then turns back to Elliot. We're escorting you to a formal interview. Voluntary cooperation will be noted. Elliot doesn't move. I'm not going anywhere without counsel. Counsel is en route. Collins replies. Your board already called them. That's the second knife. Nyasha looks at Elliot. The board is moving around him like he's already weakened. Elliot exhales slowly. Of course they did. Nyasha leans closer to him, voice low. If you leave this office, they control the building. Elliot's eyes flick to hers. I know. Collins checks her watch. 5 minutes, Mr. Vaughn. She turns and steps out, leaving the door open on purpose. An open door is a leash. The moment she's gone, Nyasha whispers. We need to speak first. You, me, and someone you trust. Not the board's lawyer. Elliot is already dialing. Who are you calling? Nyasha asks. My lawyer. Elliot replies. Nyasha snatches his wrist, not hard, but enough to stop him. She surprises herself. She rarely touches anyone in rooms like this. Elliot looks down at her hand, then back up. No anger, just attention. They're compromised, Nyasha says. If the board called them, the board briefed them. Elliot's eyes darken. Then who? Nyasha's voice is calm but urgent. Someone outside your company. Someone who doesn't need your board's approval. Elliot holds her gaze. You have anyone like that? She asks. He pauses. That pause is an answer. Elliot taps a code into his phone and puts it to his ear. Patch me through to Monroe. Nyasha's heart beats faster. Who's Monroe? Elliot doesn't look away from the opaque glass wall. The only attorney in Manhattan who hates my board more than she hates me. A voice answers on the other end. Elliot speaks fast, controlled. Nyasha walks to the screen and pulls up the building cameras again. In the lobby, more suits appear, federal agents now, moving efficiently. Employees step aside, faces tight with fear and excitement. This is a spectacle. Samantha planned it that way. Nyasha's phone buzzes again. Unknown number. She doesn't want to answer, but she does anyway, because fear thrives in unanswered spaces. A familiar smooth voice slides into her ear, the taller man from the lobby. You're doing great, he says, almost approving. You're making it so easy. Nyasha's grip tightens. Where are my brothers? A soft chuckle. Safe. For now. The question is, are you? Nyasha swallows. If you touch them, you don't have power here. The voice interrupts, still calm. You have attention. Attention is not power. It's a spotlight. And spotlights burn. Nyasha's eyes flick to Elliot. He's still on the phone, listening now, his face tightening at whatever Monroe is saying. Why are you calling me? Nyasha whispers. Because I like watching you choose, the voice replies. Leave with your dignity. Or stay and lose something. Nyasha forces her voice steady. What do you want? The voice lowers. I want you to understand the real hierarchy. You embarrassed one man. Cute. But you stepped on a network. Nyasha's stomach turns. Samantha. A pause. Then laughter. You learn fast, the voice says. Tell Elliot. If he cooperates with DOJ without us, his father's legacy gets buried. If he blames Samantha, his stock gets slaughtered. If he protects you, your family becomes a lesson. Nyasha's eyes burn with anger. And if I don't play along? The voice turns gentle again, almost soft. Then the next call you get won't be from me. The line goes dead. Nyasha stands very still, phone pressed to her ear, as if holding it there keeps the threat contained. Elliot ends his call and looks at her instantly. Who was that? Nyasha lowers the phone slowly. Not DOJ. Elliot's eyes narrow. What did they say? Nyasha hesitates. Not because she wants to hide it, because saying it out loud makes it real. They said, she begins, voice steady with effort. You cooperate without them. They bury your father's legacy. You blame Samantha. They crush your stock. You protect me. They go after my brothers. Elliot's face goes still in a way Nyasha recognizes now. The stillness of a man deciding what kind of monster he's willing to be. His phone buzzes. He glances at the screen. Nyasha Okoye. Background check results. Urgent. Nyasha's stomach drops. What is that? Elliot opens it. His eyes scan. His expression changes. Not confusion. Shock. Nyasha steps closer. Elliot. He doesn't answer. Nyasha's heartbeat stutters. What does it say? Elliot turns the screen toward her. Nyasha reads the first line. And the world tilts. Nyasha Okoye. Legal name, Nyasha Vaughn. Nyasha's breath vanishes. She stares harder, thinking it's a glitch, a cruel joke, anything. But the file continues. Birth certificate amended. Sealed adoption record. Father, Richard Vaughn. Nyasha's knees go weak. No, she whispers. No, that's... Elliot's voice is low, stunned, almost broken. My father. Nyasha can't breathe. Her whole life snaps into a different shape. Her mother's silence whenever she asked about her dad. The way landlords suddenly backed off when threats were made. The way certain supervisors treated her like they were afraid to fire her, but never promoted her. She grips the edge of Elliot's desk to steady herself. Elliot looks at her like he's seeing a ghost wearing her face. Nyasha, he says quietly. Why does your file say you're Yvonne? Nyasha's throat works, but no sound comes out. The doorframe creaks slightly as someone pauses outside. Listening, Nyasha turns her head. Through the narrow gap, she catches a glimpse of Samantha Price in the hallway. Perfect suit, perfect posture, expression calm as prayer. Samantha's eyes meet Nyasha's for half a second, and Samantha smiles. Then she lifts her phone to her ear, speaking softly to someone else as she walks away. Nyasha watches her go, numb dread crawling up her spine. Because now the threats make sense. This was never just about fraud. This is about blood. And Elliot, still staring at the screen, finally whispers the question that detonates everything. Are you my sister, or my father's secret? Nyasha opens her mouth to answer, and the office lights cut out. For one full second, the room plunges into darkness. Then emergency lights glow red. Outside, alarms begin to pulse. And in the red light, Nyasha hears the softest sound. Elliot's phone vibrating again with a new message. A video. From an unknown number. Elliot taps it without thinking. The video opens to shaky footage of two boys walking home, and a black SUV rolling slowly behind them. Nyasha's blood goes ice. Elliot's voice turns to steel. We're leaving. Now. Nyasha can't speak, because the last frame of the video freezes, and a familiar hand enters the shot, wearing a woman's bracelet she recognizes instantly. Samantha Price's bracelet. Nyasha whispers, barely audible, she's with them. And the building alarms scream louder, like the tower itself is warning them. Run. Elliot doesn't wait for the lights to come back. He grabs his jacket off the chair like it's armor and steps to the wall panel, entering a code so fast his fingers blur. A hidden compartment clicks open. Not a gun. A small black case with secure phones, building master keys, and a slim metal card stamped with a symbol Nyasha doesn't recognize. Stay behind me, he says. Nyasha's lungs refuse to work. The screen is still showing her brothers. The SUV. The bracelet. Samantha's bracelet. That's her. Nyasha whispers again, like saying it twice makes it less impossible. Elliot's voice turns cold. I believe you. He yanks open a drawer, pulls out a thick folder, and shoves it into Nyasha's hands. What is this? My father's private archive, he says. The board doesn't know I have it. Samantha doesn't know, but someone just forced my hand. Nyasha's fingers tighten around the folder. Why would your father have anything about me? Elliot doesn't answer. His eyes flick to the door. Footsteps pass outside, quick, purposeful. They're searching. Elliot moves to the opaque glass and taps the desk console. The glass clears just enough to show the hallway. A line of Virex security stands there, except it isn't Virex security anymore. Their stances are wrong. Their hands hover too close to their waists. Their eyes scan like hunters. And leading them, like she owns the floor, is Samantha Price. Samantha pauses outside Elliot's office, head tilted slightly, as if listening to the building's heartbeat. Then she speaks softly to the men with her, confident, unhurried. Nyasha can't hear the words through the glass, but she can read Samantha's mouth. He's in there. Elliot's jaw tightens. She flipped the building. Nyasha's voice shakes with rage. She's going after my brothers. Elliot's eyes flash. Not if I get to her first. Nyasha clutches the archive folder to her chest. We can't fight them. We don't fight them, Elliot says. We outsmart them. He taps the secure phone, dials one number. Monroe, he says when the line connects. I need your fastest route to court, and I need federal oversight on Agent Collins. A pause. Elliot listens, eyes sharp. Yes, Elliot says. It's dirty. It's inside. Nyasha's stomach twists. Collins too. Elliot lowers his voice. Collins walked in like she already knew the story. That doesn't happen without someone writing it. Another vibration hits Elliot's phone, text this time. Stop running. Open the door. Do the right thing. Samantha. Nyasha's pulse spikes. She's right outside. Elliot's expression doesn't change. Good. He taps the desk again. A hidden staircase panel slides open behind the bookshelf like this office is built for men who expect betrayal. Nyasha stares. You have a secret exit? Elliot doesn't look proud of it. My father did. He didn't trust his own board. Nyasha's throat tightens. Your father knew. Elliot's eyes flicked to her, pain crossing his face for half a second. We'll deal with that later. Right now, you're brothers. Nyasha nods, swallowing the terror and the fury and the sudden, sickening question of her identity. She moves toward the staircase. Elliot stops her with a gentle hand at her elbow. Not romantic. Grounding. Look at me, he says. Nyasha looks. His gaze holds hers with a frightening steadiness. If you freeze, you die in here. If you move, you have a chance. Nyasha's breath shakes. I'm not dying in your office. Elliot nods once. Good. They descend. The staircase is narrow, lit by emergency strips. It smells like dust and secrets. At the bottom is a service corridor Nyasha recognizes, the backbones of the building where the rich forget the poor exist. They run. Nyasha's legs feel like fire, but her mind is sharper than it's ever been. She's not just running from men in suits. She's running from an entire system that decided she was disposable. Elliot's phone buzzes again. He glances down while moving. His face hardens. What? Nyasha gasps. They've redirected your brothers, he says. Someone called the school. Claimed there was an emergency. They're walking them toward a safe pickup. Nyasha's voice breaks. No. Elliot stops at a security door and swipes his metal card. It opens into an underground garage. A black SUV sits there, Elliot's. He yanks the driver door open. Get in. Nyasha climbs in, hands shaking. Elliot drives out fast, not reckless, precise. He knows where cameras are, knows which turns to take to avoid obvious patterns. Nyasha clutches the archive folder. How do we reach them in time? Elliot hits a button on the secure phone. A map appears. Real-time tracking. Nyasha stares. You can track them? Elliot's mouth tightens. I can track every company device. And my father put a family tag on certain records. Nyasha's chest tightens. So he knew I existed. Elliot doesn't answer. His silence is a wound. Nyasha forces herself to focus. Where are they? Elliot's finger taps a blinking point. 2 blocks from the school. They're being guided to an alley behind a coffee shop. Nyasha's throat goes dry. That's where I buy their snacks. Elliot's eyes flick to her, jaw clenched. Then we're going to ruin someone's day. They reach the street in minutes. Elliot parks half a block away, engine still running. He moves like a man who has chosen violence without touching a weapon. Speed, intimidation, certainty. Nyasha jumps out. They cut through a side street. Nyasha's shoes slap the pavement. The city smells like exhaust and winter air. Then she sees them. Her brothers, Jaden and Micah, standing near the alley entrance, backpacks on, faces confused. A woman crouches in front of them, speaking softly, hand extended like she's offering candy. Samantha Price. She looks almost gentle from a distance. Nyasha's vision goes red. Boys! Nyasha screams. Jaden whips around. Micah turns. Their faces light up with relief. Naya! Jaden shouts. Samantha's head snaps up. For the first time, her mask slips. Annoyance flashes. Then calculation. She stands slowly, dusting her hands like she didn't just try to steal children off the street. Nyasha runs, but Elliot gets there first. He steps between Samantha and the boys like a wall. Move, Samantha says, voice perfectly calm. Elliot's voice is quiet and deadly. You just kidnapped children in broad daylight. Samantha's smile returns. Oh, please. I arranged a pickup. Their sister is unstable. And you? Her gaze slides to Nyasha. You're not who you say you are. Nyasha skids to a stop, chest heaving. She pulls the boys behind her, arms wrapping them tight. They cling to her, shaking. Samantha watches, eyes bright with satisfaction. Look at you, playing mother. Again, Nyasha's voice trembles with rage. You used my brothers to control me. Samantha's eyes flick to Elliot. I used the only thing she actually values. Don't act shocked. Elliot's gaze is ice. Agent Collins is your contact. Samantha laughs softly. You always were slow, Elliot. Nyasha's stomach drops. So the DOJ raid was to seize your narrative, Samantha finishes, eyes gleaming. To make you look like the criminal and me like the savior who discovered fraud. Elliot's jaw tightens. And the adoption record. Samantha's smile widens. That one was my favorite. Nyasha freezes. You altered it. Samantha tilts her head. I revealed it. Your father sealed it. I just unsealed it at the perfect time. Nyasha's hands shake around her brother's shoulders. Why? Samantha's gaze turns sharp. Because Richard Vaughn wrote a contingency clause into his estate. A clause that activates if Elliot ever becomes compromised. Elliot's face hardens. Say it. Samantha smiles. If Elliot is charged with fraud or removed by federal action, control passes to the other Vaughn heir. Nyasha's blood turns to ice. Elliot stares at her, then back at Samantha. You're trying to hand the company to her. Samantha's eyes gleam. To the real Vaughn. Nyasha can barely breathe. I don't want your company. Samantha shrugs. You don't have to want it. You just have to sign what I put in front of you. Then you can disappear, and I can run Virex the way it should be run. Nyasha's voice shakes. You planned this. Samantha's smile is almost proud. For years. A siren wails somewhere nearby. Nyasha's heart races. Your people are coming. Samantha's gaze slides past them. No. Yours are. Nyasha turns and sees Agent Collins stepping out of a sedan at the end of the block. Badge visible. Expression unreadable. Collins raises her voice. Step away from the miners. Samantha's face stays calm, but her eyes flicker. Elliot takes one step forward, voice cutting through the street. Agent Collins, you're being recorded. Everything you do right now is evidence. Collins pauses. Nyasha realizes Elliot has his secure phone up, camera rolling. Samantha's smile tightens. Elliot, don't be dramatic. Elliot doesn't blink. Monroe already filed for emergency oversight, and she sent the footage to Internal Affairs. Collins' expression changes, just a fraction. Fear. Not of Elliot. Of being exposed. Nyasha sees it. Samantha sees it too. Samantha's calm finally cracks. Collins, she says sharply. Do your job. Collins hesitates. Nyasha's voice cuts in, raw and steady. Do the right one. For a long second, the whole street holds its breath. Then Collins' gaze shifts to Samantha. Ma'am, she says, voice firm now. Turn around. Hands where I can see them. Samantha's eyes widen, the first true shock. What are you doing, she hisses. Collins steps forward. Arresting you. Samantha's face twists. You can't. You threatened minors, Collins says. And you interfered with the federal process. You're done. Samantha's eyes dart, searching for exits, allies, angles. There are none left. Nyasha watches as cuffs close around Samantha's wrists. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like gravity finally working again. Samantha turns her head toward Nyasha, voice low, venomous. You think you won? Nyasha's voice is trembling, but she doesn't look away. I think you lost. Samantha's smile turns ugly. You're still a secret. Nyasha's stomach twists. Elliot steps close to Samantha, voice so quiet only she can hear. And secrets become leverage. Which means you just handed us the last weapon. Samantha's eyes flash with hatred as Collins leads her away. Nyasha's brothers cling to her harder, breathing fast. Are we going home? Micah whispers. Nyasha swallows, kneeling to their level, forcing warmth into her voice. Not home. Somewhere safe. But I'm with you. Always. Jaden looks at Elliot, eyes wide. Is he bad? Nyasha looks up at Elliot. He looks back, still shaking from the truth, still carrying the weight of a father he now hates in a new way. Elliot kneels too, careful, respectful. I'm not bad, he says softly. I'm complicated, but I'm on your side. Micah studies him, then nods once like a tiny judge granting a temporary pardon. Nyasha stands, still holding them. She turns to Elliot, voice quiet. The Vaughn thing. Elliot's gaze is heavy. My father did that to you. Sealed you away. I didn't know. Nyasha's throat tightens. But Samantha did. Elliot nods. And now we use what she exposed to end the rest. Nyasha's hands shake. I don't want power. I just want my family safe. Elliot's voice softens. Then let me do something for you that isn't a transaction. Nyasha studies him, suspicious even now. Elliot looks at her like he's asking permission to be human. Let me protect them. Not as leverage. As penance. Nyasha exhales slowly. And what about me? Elliot's eyes hold hers. You decide who you are. Not my father. Not Samantha. Not the board. A beat. Nyasha looks down at her brothers, then back at Elliot. Then we finish it. Elliot nods. We finish it. Nyasha's phone buzzes. One last unknown number. She almost ignores it. Almost. Then she reads the preview text, and her stomach drops again. Nice save. Now check the archive folder. Page 9. The name you haven't said out loud yet. Nyasha's blood runs cold. She opens the folder with shaking fingers. Page 9. A photograph. Her mother. young, terrified, standing beside Richard Vaughn. And between them, a woman Nyasha has never seen before, wearing a familiar bracelet. Samantha's bracelet. But the photo is old. Too old. Nyasha's voice breaks into a whisper. That's impossible. Elliot leans in, eyes narrowing. Nyasha looks up at him, dread flooding back. Samantha wasn't the beginning, Nyasha whispers. She was the replacement. Elliot's jaw tightens. Nyasha clutches the folder like it's a bomb. Because if the bracelet existed before Samantha ever worked at Virex, then the network that targeted her family has been watching her since birth. And the real war just introduced itself.